Hail them.
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
Hailing frequencies. Open.
They're hailing us, sir.
On screen. Hello and welcome to another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast where we're trekking through the past and future of Star Trek. I'm your ghost host, Mike Jones, and joining me via the magic of the creepy internet are my co-hosts, Aaron and Ben. Say spooky.
Spooky?
Okay.
Boo! I tricked you up with the spooky.
Ooh. Oh my god, you guys! It's Halloween!
It's Halloween.
This is Halloween. Halloween.
It is my favorite time of year. Like it ties with Christmas for me. I love the holiday season, but I freaking love Halloween.
It's the best. It's the best.
It's great.
If you're watching the video version of our podcast, which you can do by being a patron on our Patreon, we are in uniform today.
Yes.
So,
absolutely. I mean, this is actually, for those of you who are not Patreon patrons, first of all, you should be. But second of all, we actually dress like this every day.
Right.
I was just commenting that I should be dressing like this more. I don't know why I don't wear my uniform. I mean, I have to blend in with the inhabitants of this planet, but on occasion I can represent Starfleet, and I think I should more often.
Are you one of those guys who goes to the Renaissance Fair dressed in a Star Trek uniform?
I was just thinking the next time that I go to the Renaissance Fair, I might wear my Star Trek uniform.
Someone who's a super fan is going to pull you off to the side and go, "Don't you know it's a violation of the Prime Directive to
Have you ever heard of the Prime Directive?" Be like, it's okay. I've got an invisibility shield.
Oh my god! Yeah, you need device. Your phaser. You need a tricorder to be like, scanning the.
Yeah, just scanning the people.
It's funny. There's always like stormtroopers. There's always Star Trek people. There's always.
I love it. I've never been.
The Colorado Renaissance Festival. It's not happening this year, but
yeah.
But it is a staple in my summer activities usually. That's awesome. And the Denver Pop Culture Con.
Oh, nice.
They have now. I feel like I'm glowing.
Well, they say dress for the job you want, so that's why
Where's my makeup
all
girl?
So I'm wearing
don't breathe.
Original. Right, they don't breathe. I'm wearing an original series Captain Tunic.
Lean out.
Several years old.
Oh, let's see the insignia. Yep, there it is.
Nice.
Yeah, gold.
It looks okay right now, but if I stood up, you'd be like, "Oh, these uniforms are not flattering to overweight people." Like
they're. I mean, let's be honest. They're not flattering on anyone.
That's bodyist, man. That's
there's a reason Shatner wore a girdle, Sorry, back brace. We call it a back brace.
Everyone in the future wears Spanx.
Right.
I mean, you do. You have to.
Obviously.
I'm wearing them right now, and I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to tell our listeners what uniforms you're wearing?
You go ahead. You go first.
Okay. So I'm wearing my command uniform, TNG. I've got commander ranks on this. I'm doing my best Will Riker is really what I'm doing.
Yeah, the beard helps.
I trimmed up the beard a little bit to be a little more Rikery, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like number one.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Right?
I apparently have the rank of captain because that's what's sewn into my collar. I'm wearing the command red, but I got dressed hastily because I don't have a comm badge. I left it in my quarters. So.
Oh no, we won't be able to find you.
I guess if we have to ask the computer where you are. Yeah, no, I like it. Is it like a shirt or is it like a dress?
This is a shirt. No, it's a shirt from a very precious millennial website that my sister gave me as a gift, and it's super cute. I just haven't had too many occasions to break it out.
It is cool. It's got like a bustier line.
Yes, it's got a little sweetheart. It's a sweetheart neckline.
Sweetheart, yeah.
Yes.
Neckline.
Yes, a little
I like
sheer on top. It's Star Trek After Hours.
It's you know what? It's very
Fine.
I like it. It's classy. It's like
it's classy.
I feel like you could wear it out on a night in the town or on an away mission,
Absolutely. There's something
it's-
for everyone.
It's very
great.
Janeway with your red hair. It's very Janeway.
It is. Yeah.
You just need the like bun of steel on the top.
I
of your
need the
head.
bun. I need my hair a little longer to do the bun. Right now I'm rocking like, what is this, Crusher season 3 or 4 length?
Oh yeah, yeah. She had that like that kind of
That
bob for a
lob.
while.
The
Yeah,
lob.
lob. Is that what it's called?
A long bob.
Long bob.
Yeah, I just taught you something, a lob.
Now I know.
These
I
are
learned
the
something
things
every
that I
day.
need to know.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing. All right.
Okay. Well, so we decided to do something special for Halloween, a little Halloween special, and jump ahead in our rewatch of TNG all the way to the 7th season and talk about the 7th season, episode 14, Sub Rosa, because it is one of the times that Star Trek gets close to being a ghost story. It's probably the closest to being a ghost.
We also wanted to give you a bit of a break from the early seasons. So we thought it might be
Yes.
fun to jump ahead to when it gets really good.
Yeah. It's just watching this. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything because I'm sure we'll get into it, but I love the relationship between Crusher and Troy. Like they're really fully developed characters now in a way that they're not in the seasons that we're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Oh.
can tell. Oh no.
Oh no, monster down.
My beholder fell down. I just realized my charger wasn't on and my computer was at like 10%. And I was like, oh shit. So
Oopsie
it
doopsie. Red alert.
Red alert indeed.
Red alert.
All right. And my little beholder buddy is going to hang out. We're genre mixing today, but that's the entirety of my existence is just
Yeah,
genre
right,
mixing.
yeah, it's all good. It's all
It's
good.
fine.
This is in fact a real 3D printed little beholder guy. It looks like just a little sticker. It looks like a little
Yeah.
A little logo.
like a logo.
But it's not a real beholder guy.
No, it's what we use in Dungeons and Dragons to represent the beholder on the
I
tabletop.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
It looks like he's ready to be phasered. Like he looks like he's going to attack me.
Get him.
And- right, you got your phaser.
Oh my
Get
god, I
him,
can't
number
wait for
one.
post. I'm gonna add something in. It'll be a super cool,
Amazing.
like special effects. Get special effects on that quick.
Yep.
The
So
Rosa.
Incredible.
So before we get into Sub Rosa, first of all, I want to I already mentioned it once, but I want to plug again our Patreon. You can join our crew and get special perks such as the video version of the podcast and other awesome things. Check us out over on Patreon. Also, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcast. 5 stars is great. It really does help other people find us in the sea of the many, many, many Star Trek podcasts that exist in the world.
I was under the impression we're the only one.
It's funny.
Only one ever.
That's what Mario thinks.
You're
just
just
showing
showing
all the
props.
genres.
I get to
Don't
show off
know
all my
toys.
desk toys. My desk toys are on making an appearance in the Halloween episode.
I've got Play-Doh. Will Play-Doh work?
Yes.
That-
Play-Doh play?
We gave away Play-Doh last year with our Halloween candy. We had little
Oh,
tiny
yeah.
Play-Dohs mixed in with the candy that we handed out. Yeah, like that.
Yep.
It was great.
Yep.
I have a
Um,
fake. I have a
We'll do the
fake
teal
$100 bill.
pumpkin.
Oh my God.
Nice.
Speaking of
it says
other-
theater on it. Sorry, go ahead. We're not. I'm just
We're
distracted.
way off topic, but I'm not helping. Speaking of other Star Trek podcasts that are out there, a friend recommended a different podcasting app. I think it was RSS Radio or something. I ended up not actually liking it, so I deleted the app. But I downloaded it and I searched for us to make sure that we could be found through it, and we could, along with another Hailing Frequencies Open podcast.
No lies.
What?
Burn them to the ground.
Wait a minute.
I know.
That's
I
crap.
was really surprised, actually.
But are we the better Hailing Frequencies Open podcast?
Well, we have hailingfrequenciesopen.com, so I
Mhm.
think that we're more official than they are.
Obviously.
But no, I don't mean to bash anybody. I'm sure they're great. But it was just funny to I was like, wait a second, that's not me. It's funny. Okay. Star Trek and Halloween. Before we get into Sub Rosa, I just wanted to run through a couple of the other options that I considered when planning this episode. that I suggest you go check them out to get in the Star Trek Halloween spirit. First of all, in the original series, season 2, I think it's episode 1, Cat's Paw, the USS Enterprise encounters three witches like from Macbeth, and a castle surrounded by fog, and a dungeon with skeletons and wizards, and it's very Halloweenish. Also, Voyager season 6, episode 25, The Haunting of Deck 12, where Neelix tells ghost stories. Very creepy.
I give that 3 skeletons out of 3 spoopy skeletons out of 5.
Oh, how many does Cat's Paw get? I'm sorry.
Cat's Paw got 2.5 skeletons out of 5. Spoopy skeletons.
Spoopy. And then the strangest Halloween connection that I've discovered is a comic book from Marvel called The Haunting of Thallus. And you can find it on the internet because, it's like a comic book from 1980. Basically, the Enterprise meet Dracula, and they meet a Wolfman, and there's a castle floating in space, and it's everything Halloweenish.
It's a 2-parter, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, it's
because I think the comic book, it ends with the haunted house being suspended in space, and they're going in to explore it.
Right.
4 out of 5 spoopy skeletons.
Well, because that one has death. I mean, that one's got some dying from Dracula. So
the only reason I gave it 4 spoopy skeletons is because it was originally supposed to be a trilogy, but then they cut the budget, so they made it a 2-parter.
Oh, right. Well, that's how they get you to buy the next comic book.
Yeah.
Another great thing about this comic, because it's a Marvel, it starts out, Stan Lee presents a 23rd century Odyssey today.
Today.
Aw, amazing.
Excelsior.
Excelsior, indeed.
Comic books are amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, but we're not going to talk a lot about those options. We're going to talk about Sub Rosa. This episode first aired on January 31st, 1994. See, I think it should have been like October, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Right?
That's weird.
Teleplay by Brandon Braga, story by Jerry Taylor, based on material by Gianna Gallo, and it was directed by Jonathan Frakes. So sometimes it sounds like I'm saying Franks, like Frank. It's Frakes. Frakes. There's no N, but then I like whatever. Anyway,
it's that intrusive N.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm adding
in the dialects.
Jonathan Frakes.
That's interesting. That's really. I didn't notice that he was the director. I didn't pay attention to that bit.
I always thought it was Fracas.
Fracas.
I've
Fraquet?
Joe Nathan Fracas. Yeah, at this point he had he does a lot of television directing now. And he had gone through what he called the Star Trek School of Directing, where he shadowed directors for a couple years, and then they let him do some episodes, and he even did a couple of the films. I mean, he's an amazing director. But since we're all the way in the 7th season, we're getting to see his directorial eye, and other familiar names, Brandon Braga and Jerry Taylor, are both like big, producers of the show at that point. So they were worried about this episode. The original spec script was a little different. It had aliens going through the history of Earth, possessing people, and you find out that the aliens were responsible for most supernatural things that have happened in the world. They made it much more simple and just made it about one family. Here.
I think of that aliens. Like, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it's aliens, like that guy from History.
Right.
That's what I always think of when I hear about the original plot line. It's like aliens.
There's a great parody of that with an alien from Star Trek Voyager, where he's going, humans. Anyway,
because of the hair.
Because of the hair. So what are they? I just forgot the name of that race.
I I forgot it too.
Oh,
I can't help you on this one, boys.
The B
They're like,
starts with a B or a
no.
G.
Anyway, sorry.
Mm.
Someone's screaming at us right now.
I know.
They're like the first couple season aliens on.
Yeah, they're like the
Twitter.
bad guys from the first few seasons.
If you
Maj
become a
Fala.
high enough ranking Patreon member, you can come on maybe a future episode and scream at us for getting this one wrong.
Right. The things that the little bird walks that we take that I don't have notes on.
Yeah, we're going off script.
Right.
We're going rogue. No.
So we're going to go old school with this, and we're not going to do a watch along like we've been
Because
doing.
it's too spooky.
It's too spooky. I think that this script lends itself to being told like a story. At least it does for a little while.
Yes.
So let's jump in and we'll talk about a little part of the script and then we'll stop in. I mean, I'll describe it and then we'll stop and chat, Teaser and Act 1. Dr. Beverly Crusher's grandmother has died and the Enterprise is visiting the colony where she lived for the funeral. There is a mysterious man at the funeral that catches Beverly's eye. He puts a flower on the coffin. The colony's governor asks Picard to help with their aging weather control system and other systems. It's a very old colony. This will take a couple days. It works out well because Beverly has a house full of belongings that she's inherited, and she needs to get her grandmother's affairs in order. One item in the house is a candle that has been in the Howard family for generations. We find out, I don't know that we knew this before, that Beverly's maiden name is Howard. But anyway.
Right.
The candle is supposed to symbolize the enduring Howard spirit. Her grandmother always kept it lit, so Beverly lights it, and she starts reading her grandmother's journal. Seems innocent enough.
The Kazon. Damn it.
The Kazon. Right.
Yeah.
The Kazon Olga.
Sorry.
Who are the Kazon Olga? Okay. Back to the TNG. Suddenly, a man enters her house unannounced. He grabs the candle and blows it out. Beverly says, "What the hell are you doing in my house?" She demands that he let go of the candle, and she says it's an heirloom. He says that it has been the curse of your family for generations, and he leaves. So something is afoot. Later in the Enterprise, Picard and Crusher discuss her grandmother's journal. She was surprised to learn that her grandmother had a much younger lover, a 34-year-old. Her grandmother was 100, named Ronan. And they'd met shortly after Crusher's great-grandmother passed away. As the doctor sleeps in her quarters that night, she keeps the candle lit. It flickers and the covers slide off of her bed. Her nightgown begins to slide away, exposing her shoulder. She reacts as if someone is kissing her neck. An eerie voice calls her name, Beverly, causing her to rise from her bed in fear.
I got chills.
Ultimately, she thinks it was a very realistic dream.
Like you get.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going and we'll get into some of the good parts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, into the good bits. Into the sexy bits.
Into the sexy bits. Ghost sex. She beams back down and chats with the man who wanted to steal the candle. His name is Quint. He was actually friends with her grandmother, and she knows that now by reading his journal, so she's nice to him. He blames the crazy weather that they're having on the ghost that haunts the house. And he says he'll never go back in that house again, and he'll never light that candle, and she shouldn't either, or she'll end up dead like her grandmother. But she does go back into the house, and when she arrives, it's mysteriously full of flowers. Meanwhile, the Enterprise sets up a power transfer beam to the colony in their efforts to repair the weather system. Okay, we'll keep going into Act 3. Sorry, I'm like, how far do I want to go? Okay.
Yeah, go all the way.
Talk here. Yeah. The door slams shut behind Beverly, and the fear level in her rises. She calls out, "Who's there?" The mirror begins to tap against the wall. She picks it up and checks behind it to find nothing out of the ordinary. She places it back and sees the flash of a man in the reflection right behind her. She gasps, drops the mirror. It shatters. She turns around to find no one there. She warns whoever is in the house should show himself, or she will contact the Enterprise and she can have that place full of security guards in no time at all. a man calls out her name and says he's come back for her, and he wants that he was the one who was with her last night.
Beverly.
She dismisses it. She reaches for her comm badge to call the Enterprise. Suddenly, she's dizzy, pain-stricken, leading her to drop her comm badge onto the floor. The mysterious visitor proclaims his love for her, just as he loved her grandmother, Felisa. Felisa? Crusher puts the pieces together and identifies the mysterious voice as Ronan from the journals. He says that he is a spirit who lived in Glasgow, Scotland in 1647 and has been with her family ever since, even as they ventured out into space. Crusher feels a strange sensation as Ronan says they are becoming one.
Yeah, I don't think at any point she's in pain, just to clarify.
Oh, you don't? Oh.
No.
You think that was an orgasmic sound?
I think that that's how he controls the women, through pleasure.
That makes sense.
She's not reacting as though she's in pain at all at any stage. Even when she's sort of throwing herself around, it's because she's fighting against what she's feeling. And we can have a conversation about consent and whatnot. But yeah, it's not pain that she's experiencing.
That's, like I usually do, I got this summary from Memory Alpha and then like heavily edited it and trimmed it down. They use the word pain and I just didn't question it, but you're right.
It was written by men.
It was definitely written by a man.
And listen, I don't want to offend any listeners, but it may have been written by men who've never seen a woman experience what Beverly is experiencing in those moments.
Sure.
Just putting it out there.
I'll have what she's having.
Yes.
Exactly.
I'll have what she's having.
Gates McFadden does some great acting in this episode.
Yeah.
Because she's all over the place. I mean, she gets to be angry, she's sad, she's turned on, she's intrigued, she's scared.
It does get a little bit of a bad rap because it is so all over the place. I think that's maybe why, but like that's a feat. Like that is athletics of the acting sort that she's doing that. She's giving it to us. She is there.
Right. Well, from what I understand,
kudos Gates. That's all
right.
I'm saying.
And I don't want to generalize, but according to one of the producers, the men tend to not like the episode and women tend to like it, which is a gross generalization, I'm sure. But there is sort of a romance novel aspect to it. And the fact that the colony is obsessed with like old Scotland, so it looks old and there's candles, and when Ronan appears, which actually hasn't quite happened yet, physically he has this, he looks like this Victorian era, like he has this like 80s version of hair that you would think comes from the Victorian area.
Oh, that's a man.
Not full Fabio, but
not quite.
Such a man. Such a man.
Well, let's jump back in. So back on the ship, Beverly confesses to Deanna that she did meet Ronan. Troy thinks that she's in love with him. I mean, she can sense it, but she says, no, I'm just intrigued by him. No, she's totally in love with him. Suddenly the bridge is flooded with dense fog. The cause is a malfunction in the ship's environmental controls, which is traced to a power transfer, which is creating a feedback from one of the weather control substations. The feedback becomes important later. Down on the planet, Quint attempts to shut down the machinery and the transfer beam. Sadly, he's killed in the attempt. It was not the plasma discharge that killed him, however. It was an energy residue. An anomalous? Anomalous, sorry. I spelled that wrong or something. It doesn't look anomalous to me. An anomalous energy residual. Thank you. That's what they called it in the episode.
Technobabble. It's just a thing.
Technobabble. Exactly. It really is technobabble. Back at the house. Actually, I also edited that. He was trying to disconnect the main power coupling. It was the technobabble in there, but which really means unplug it.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was trying to unplug it and he got electrocuted by space energy.
Have you tried turning it on and turning it off again? Turning
Right.
it
Have you
off and
tried-
turning it back on again. That's what I meant to say.
Have you tried refiguring the main power coupling? Back at the house, Beverly again makes contact with Ronan. This time he appears in the flesh. He confirms that he does live in the candle and he's weakened when he's away from it for too long. Sadly, she left it on the ship. This is why the women in Crusher's family have kept it lit for years. So she wants to beam back up to the ship. Ronan follows her, traveling along that power transfer beam.
Because he's an energy
Because he is
being?
energy.
Yeah.
He's an energy
Mhm.
being.
that lives in a candle.
Back in her quarters on the Enterprise, she lights the candle again and is like, she's so intense in this scene. She's
It's
like,
on.
come on, it's almost like he is a drug and she needs him.
Yeah, it's like a heroin thing.
Yeah. He appears again.
intense.
He promises that they will be together as one, and it's been this way for the Howard women forever. Then he transforms into his anaphasic state and merges with her. The next day, we learn that Crusher has submitted her letter of resignation to Captain Picard because she's going to leave Starfleet, live in her grandmother's house with her candle ghost.
I love her.
Ghost lover.
Picard will have none of it, but she beams down anyway. Soon, Data and Geordi track the energy residual that matches the anaphasic signature found in Quint's body. It is coming from the colony's cemetery. They beam down and discover that it's concentrated in Felisa Howard's gravesite.
Ooh.
Picard also beams down. He goes to Crusher's house and confronts her. Ronan appears. He is angered when he learns that the Enterprise crew plan to exhume Felisa's body to investigate this energy. He attacks Picard, knocking him unconscious, and then he rushes to the cemetery. Meanwhile, they exhume the grave by beaming the coffin out, which I wouldn't have even thought of. Of course they would. Why not? Geordi and Data lift the lid off the coffin, and they find her peaceful, dead body. All of a sudden, she sits up. Her eyes are glowing. She zaps them with green energy.
She's a
Data and
witch.
Geordi fall down. She's a witch. Crusher arrives, screams for Ronan to leave her alone. Then the body collapses. Ronan takes his corporeal shape again. Now she understands what he is. Not really a ghost, but an anaphasic life form that he's been using. He's been using her grandmother as a host in order to maintain molecular cohesion. She scanned the candle. It turned out to be a plasma-based, used only as a receptacle in order to merge with the Howards, her grandmother, and those who came before them. Ronan threatens to harm others, but Beverly quickly puts the candle down, then grabs Geordi's phaser, destroys the candle. She hails Riker and tells him to close all the plasma conduits, trapping Ronan on the planet. She kills him with the phaser. Back in the Enterprise, she explains to Troy that Ronan had somehow found that one of her ancestors, a woman who had biochemistry that made her compatible as a host. Although relieved she escaped this family tradition, she's sad because it was apparent in reading her journals that, among other things, Ronan did make her grandmother very happy.
I'll bet he did.
So, I should have mentioned this. My favorite quote from this episode is, "I did fall asleep reading a particularly erotic chapter in my grandmother's journal."
She's like really letting her colleagues know lots of interesting stuff about her grandmother. She fully, like, at one point says to Picard, like, I hope I have grandma's libido when I get to her age. I mean, do you have that conversation with your boss? Because I never have.
Grandma
That is
liked to
weird.
fudge. The history of her
Oh
journal.
my God.
She liked to, yeah.
Grandma liked to go tadpoling.
I don't. Wow.
I don't know what that
That's
means.
That's an older woman, younger man.
Mm-hmm.
Tadpoling.
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 My God.
Call it down south. Anyway.
Cougar Town. All right. Oh, I think we froze for a second. Let's see if it comes back. Please stand by. Experiencing
the weather control thing is malfunctioning. So there's lightning and thunder and fog and green energy zaps.
Yes.
Very, very creepy. Very creepy. No, I mean, it's funny that you said that women tend to like this episode and men tend not to. I enjoy this episode. I don't think it's great writing,
Yeah.
but I love the performances and I love the atmosphere of it and the spookiness. And I actually genuinely enjoy the friendship between Troy and Crusher.
Yeah. They're really like, you can tell that they have an unspoken relationship now, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're really friends.
Yeah, it definitely develops over the seasons. And the thing on a personal level for the actors, when you mentioned that Frakes directed this one, I think that might be why we get some of the great performance out of
Gates
oh my
McFadden.
gosh, thank you, Gates McFadden. Her name escaped me for a moment.
Yeah.
Because I imagine that over the course of 7 years, you get really close with your colleagues, and to be that vulnerable and express yourself in those ways, you have to have a director who you're very, very comfortable with, who's
Yeah.
going to encourage you to explore that side. So I don't think we would have
Absolutely.
gotten this episode from a different director.
Yeah, and they know their like skill sets as actors to
Mm.
other actors. You know what I mean? So he was
Mhm.
probably able to like help her
Yeah.
showcase herself in that way,
Mhm.
and like because he knows what she's capable of in a way that like the writers might not.
Yeah, he knows what's in her actor's toolbox to pull
Mhm.
out. And she often doesn't have a scene partner in those scenes because it's a disembodied voice. So it really is just her and,
Yeah.
the director like working through
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
It's reminiscent of like, and I think that maybe this is where everyone gets the romance element, like the romance novel, but it's like it's a vampire. I mean, he's basically a space version of a vampire.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
yeah.
Yeah.
He's living off the life force of another human for generations, for eternity. He's eternal, right? He's a
Right.
vampire. He's
a
just a
vampire.
space vampire.
It's a space
But it's-
vampire.
But it's interesting. He doesn't seem to be parasitic. He doesn't, he's not the reason Beverly's grandmother died.
It's more
No.
symbiotic,
I mean,
really. It's like,
yeah.
Oh.
Quint made it sound like it was, that the ghost, that the ghost, as he referred to it, Ronan, was a threat to the Howard women. But it seems like the ghost Ronan was very protective of the Howard women. And
Yeah.
I mean, from what he says, genuinely loved them. Probably, he needed them, so he just enjoyed his time with them. But
yeah.
it seemed like it was reciprocal. Maybe they didn't enter the relationship willingly.
Mm.
Maybe they didn't know what they were getting into, but once they were in it, he didn't seem abusive.
Right.
Other than the fact that they sort of got addicted to him like a drug. So maybe I'll take that back.
Yeah. I would say I feel like I would be on the side of it was he's manipulating
Yes.
Beverly. But the part where it really goes over the line for me is when she resigns from Starfleet. Like, what led her to do that? Why couldn't she have just brought the candle onto the ship and done her normal duties during the day and then go back to her cabin and have like candle sex? I mean, you know what I mean? I don't know. But
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where like the addiction aspect sort of comes into it. And I think that's like it's impairing her judgment because she thinks that's the only thing that is going to make her happy. And that's that she just wants no other complications in her life. Like she doesn't want a career. She doesn't want, she's already one of the most established medical officers in Starfleet on the flagship, the Enterprise. And she's just willing to throw that away for you know, obviously there's some impairment going on in her decision-making process at some point, which
absolutely
psychologists would point to would be to because of addiction.
Yeah.
So,
it's kind of upsetting and it really is a violation.
The beholder agrees with me.
But and you can tell how deep it runs because at the end she's like crying when she kills him. She doesn't want to kill him.
No, yeah. Oh, I got a minor freeze there again, friends. Please stand by. Minor technical difficulties.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a difficult relationship.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if you're looking at it as an abusive relationship, because there's manipulation and there's a power struggle. I mean, women do love, in many instances, love their abusers.
Yeah.
So it's possible to feel drawn to someone even if, they're not so good for you.
Stockholm syndrome or
Or just
I mean he
dating bad men.
right, well.
Side note, I've been watching the DC animated Harley Quinn series, which is
is it good?
incredible, by the way. It's super fantastic, awesome. The voice cast alone makes it worth watching. But they constantly show the relationship between Harley and the Joker, and he's obviously like he's a psychotic,
Right.
and abusive, manipulative, certainly partner. And she struggles with it the whole time. Like she always goes back to him, and you're just like, what does she do? And it makes you so mad, but it's like, that's like sort of, and in the Star Trek episode, they're sort of hinting at like a manipulative narcissist type of relationship. My mom would go into detail for hours as a psychiatrist herself, but yeah. Anyway, but it's fascinating. I mean, the issues that they broached in this episode, it's really brilliant how well they started to do that, like dealing with, I mean, she's really dealing with the basics of addiction and,
I struggle with the basics of addition.
And division, long division. And
don't get me started on multiplication.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They changed math. They can't change math. Math is math.
No. New math is bad. I don't understand.
New math is bad.
Grouping math. I think whatever they call it. Yeah, it's
right.
weird.
I don't know. Number lines.
No.
I don't.
There's graphs and boxes. I don't know. It's weird.
Yep.
Just do the long division.
Yep. Carry the one. That's like once they got rid of that, I was lost.
I'm already lost.
But we're talking about addiction. We're talking about bad relationships.
And as a classically trained actor, I really think Gates McFadden hits the diction very well. So, wait, what are we talking about?
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I lost track of this conversation.
I see what you
did.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Aaron, you had mentioned consent earlier. Do you want to elaborate on that in this episode?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean,
concept.
It's just the idea of this. I mean, this being first goes into Beverly's room while she's sleeping without any sort of permission.
Uninvited.
Pulls down the
unconscious.
sheets. Yeah, she's completely unable to give consent in any way, shape, or form. And it starts to caress and kiss her body, which is, I mean, so when you look at romance novels, there's a certain amount of sexual energy that can come from the tension of those situations in a fantasy situation. But if we're looking at the actual facts of what happened, this thing entered her room and just starts having its way with her body. She happens to wake up, so it doesn't get any further than that. But in the next interaction, she's, when she's down on the planet, on the colony, and walks into the house, there's flowers, there's sort of a supernatural event happening, and then Ronan makes himself known to her. He's acting on her and she's saying stop, and he is not stopping. She's asking, what are you doing? He doesn't explain what he's doing, and he physically enters her body without her saying that it's okay. Yeah. And from there we get the addiction. From there we get her hooked on him. And although he does seem to bring her great pleasure, at that point she's somehow inhibited. She's under influence. She again cannot give consent.
Yeah. And he I mean, it's the same thing, not the same thing, but he enters the corpse of the grandmother,
which is a violation.
Yeah, and animates her body. That's really creepy,
Yeah.
but also just kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
The
And I mean,
the
again, they're presenting these really heavyweight issues in a sort of removed, sci-fi setting that we can then sort of dissect them like we're doing now. And I think that's again just good writing, good directing, and it's a testament to the amazing group of people that made these episodes that we love so much.
absolutely. I also wanted to point out that the actress who played the grandmother, let me find her name in my notes.
Actually, Gates McFadden's grandmother.
Ellen Albertini Dow. I thought she looked really familiar, so I looked her up. She was the rapping grandmother in The Wedding Singer, and she was also
prolific.
Oh,
Yeah, you're right.
And
That
she was
is-
also
meatballs.
she was in the Sister Act movies as one of the nuns.
Oh, yeah.
And like her IMDb is insane. She was 80 when she did this episode. She lived to 101 and was still working well into her 90s. But she was playing like the old woman, 30 years ago. You know what I mean?
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
Oh,
Great
great
actress.
career, great lady.
Yeah, amazing. So yeah.
Imagining she
Now,
played the
this-
one in the casket as well, I believe.
Yeah.
She sits up.
Yep, she's the woman in the casket and in the picture.
There's a lot of there's a little heavier makeup in that scene, but
yeah,
Mhm.
right. So do we like this episode?
I like it for Halloween. I think that was a great choice.
Yeah.
It's good.
I think it's
It's
I
a
don't
good one.
It is. It's good. I mean, is it great? Are the performances great? Yes.
I think so.
Is it like an all-timer? Is it top 10, top 20? Maybe not. But I
Yeah.
liked it. I enjoyed rewatching it. I forgot
Yeah.
how much I liked this episode.
I like it too. Another thing that I like about it is Picard like really protects Beverly. Like he something's up with her. Like she talks to him early on in the episode about the grandmother's journals and yada yada. So what that shows that they're very close because she's giving him this personal information about her grandmother.
Really,
and then when she totally
intense,
changes,
personal. Mm-hmm.
right? He like beams down and is just like, what is happening? Like, I'm here as your friend, basically. Like, what is going on?
And he
which
notices that her eye color has changed. And I have
he
to tell you,
does.
I don't know that my husband could tell you right now what color my eyes are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, he could, but I mean, to have a friend have a conversation with you and go, did you change your eye color?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't-
that's an intensely deep friendship.
it really is. They could have. I mean, they hinted at a romance for them. The writers did on and off. But yeah, they have a really fascinating relationship. I hope we see her in Picard, in the Picard series.
Oh
Well,
my
because
God. Yes, we
be-
will. I'm pretty sure we will.
Yeah,
God,
because
I hope so.
they get, I'm trying to remember from All Good Things because it's been a
Mm.
decade or two. They're married and divorced, aren't
And,
they?
yeah, in that future, they are divorced. But of course, that's the future that Q is presenting to Picard, so it might not happen that way.
Right.
But
right.
but yeah, that's so. There's also that great episode where they're like linked at the hip. They can't like get more than a few feet away from each other. Anyway,
Oh yeah, that's a good
Oh
one.
my god.
This is
Good
I
times.
think this episode is
Wow.
is something different. I think it's sort of a breakaway from the traditional style of TNG that we've been seeing now
Yeah.
for 7 seasons
Mhm.
at this point in the world. But it's yeah, I mean it's fun. Again, like it sort of wrestles with some heavy issues that are interesting to examine. And what their implications are for people in the 24th century as well as in the 20th century.
Mhm.
Um,
21st
well, now it's the 21st
as
century,
well.
yes.
Yeah,
but
I'm just
it
saying
came
it's
out in
still-
94. That was the 20th century.
So
right,
many
right. No, I'm just saying
centuries.
it holds up. I think that it's
Yeah,
So
no, I
many.
think it's still, and it's so some of those issues are far more present in our society now as far as consent and
Absolutely.
addiction and all those things. We're a little more aware of them now. So maybe
Conversation is
maybe part of it is in thanks in part to Star Trek: The Next Generation. That's all
Sure.
I'm saying.
Sure. And as part of the larger, pop culture that has
I'm out.
influenced us today. You're like, and mic drop.
That's all I got.
That was
all
my
I got.
conclusion statement. I don't. What else do you want from me?
That was closing argument.
That was my yeah.
Okay. Well, so I guess we should wrap this up and turn on the porch light and see if any trick-or-treaters are coming by.
Yep. Remember to throw candy from your cars this year. just mark a 12-foot line out from your front door and throw candy at the children.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what they're doing. It's yeah, it is what it is.
Yes.
You
Maybe
know.
they can
Just
figure
throw-
out the transporter biofilters, and I don't know.
Right,
Maybe that's what-
right.
The light keeps changing, and it makes me look really shiny halfway through.
It's so
Now it's better.
shiny.
Shiny.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Hailing Freak Open, or on our Patreon, or on our webpage at hailingfrequenciesopen.com. And I think that's it for this one. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy.
Hailing Frequencies closed.
No goodbyes. Just good memories. Hailing frequencies closed, sir.